The girl in the alley, the rain had stopped an hour ago, but the alley behind Mason Street still glistened with puddles that reflected the streetlights like scattered coins. Detective James Crawford walked slowly through the narrow passage, his boots splashing softly against the wet pavement. The city was quiet at this hour, just past midnight, when even the usual sounds of traffic seemed to fade into whispers. James had taken this route home for years. It was a shortcut from the precinct to his apartment, a path he knew by heart. The brick walls on either side rose up like canyon walls, lined with dumpsters and fire escapes that created shadows within shadows. He knew every crack in the concrete, every faded sign, every piece of graffiti that decorated the walls. But tonight, something was different. A sound caught his attention, a soft rustling like paper being crumpled, coming from the large green dumpster ahead. James slowed his pace, his detective instincts immediately alert. He had seen many things in these alleys over the years. Raccoons, mostly, sometimes cats. Occasionally someone looking for bottles to recycle or food that restaurants had thrown away. He approached quietly, not wanting to startle whatever or whoever was there. The rustling continued, accompanied now by small, deliberate movements. As he drew closer, James could see tiny fingers gripping the edge of the dumpster, and then a small head of blonde hair appeared over the rim. It was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. She wore a pink dress that might have been pretty once, but now it was dirty and torn at the hem. Her hair hung in tangled waves around her face, and even in the dim light, James could see smudges of dirt on her cheeks. She was holding half of a sandwich, examining it carefully before taking a small bite. James felt his heart constrict in his chest. In 15 years as a detective, he had seen poverty, homelessness, and suffering in countless forms. But there was something particularly heartbreaking about seeing a child alone in an alley at midnight, searching through trash for food. "Hey there," he said softly, not wanting to frighten her. The girl's head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. She clutched the sandwich to her chest and started to climb back into the dumpster, as if she might hide among the trash bags. "Wait," James said quickly, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm a police officer." The girl paused, studying him with those wide, uncertain eyes. She didn't run, but she didn't relax either. James could see her trembling slightly, though whether from cold or fear, he couldn't tell. Slowly, carefully, James crouched down to her level, making himself less intimidating. "My name is James," he said gently. "What's your name?" The girl didn't answer right away. She took another small bite of the sandwich, her eyes never leaving his face. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Emma." James felt something click in his mind. Emma, that name had been everywhere for the past 3 days. On the news, on social media, on missing person posters plastered across the city. Emma Thornton, the 7-year-old daughter of Richard and Catherine Thornton, one of the wealthiest families in the state. The little girl had vanished from her bedroom 3 nights ago, and the entire city had been searching for her. But looking at her now, sitting on the ground beside a dumpster with her torn pink dress and dirty face, James found it hard to connect this frightened child with the smiling girl in the photos he had seen. Those pictures had shown a little girl in designer clothes, her hair perfectly styled, posing in front of a mansion with marble columns. "Emma Thornton?" he asked carefully. The girl's face changed, a flicker of something, recognition maybe, or fear. She nodded slowly. "Emma, a lot of people have been looking for you," James said. "Your parents are very worried." To his surprise, tears began to roll down Emma's cheeks. Not the loud, dramatic crying of a tantrum, but quiet tears that carved clean paths through the dirt on her face. "I don't want to go back," she whispered. James felt his stomach tighten. Those words, spoken so softly but with such certainty, changed everything. He had assumed this was a kidnapping, or that the girl had gotten lost. But Emma wasn't acting like someone who wanted to be rescued. "Can you tell me why?" he asked gently. Emma looked down at the sandwich in her hands. "They're not my real parents," she said quietly. "I heard them talking, on the phone. They were saying things about money and arrangements, and how I was part of some deal." She looked up at James, her eyes filled with confusion and hurt. "I got scared, so I ran away." James sat down completely now, not caring about the wet ground. His mind was racing, putting pieces together. The Thorntons had been in the news a lot lately, though not because of Emma's disappearance. There had been whispers about financial troubles, investigations into Richard Thornton's business practices, rumors of bankruptcy despite their apparent wealth. "What exactly did you hear?" he asked. "Mr. Thornton said something about my trust fund and how they needed it to save the company," Emma said. Her voice was small, but steady now, as if she had been holding these words inside for too long. "And Mrs. Thornton said they shouldn't have agreed to the guardianship in the first place if they couldn't afford it." Guardianship. James felt his blood run cold. "Emma, are the Thorntons your aunt and uncle, or family friends?" Emma nodded. "They took me in after my real parents died in a car accident. That was 2 years ago. I thought they wanted me because they cared about me. But that night, when I heard them talking, it sounded like they only took me for my inheritance." The pieces fell into place. James had heard of cases like this. Wealthy relatives taking in orphan children, not out of love, but to gain control of trust funds and inheritances. If Emma's real parents had left her money, the Thorntons, as her legal guardians, would have access to it until she came of age. "I've been hiding," Emma continued, "but I got so hungry. I found this sandwich in there." She held up the half-eaten food. "I didn't know what else to do." James reached out slowly and gently took Emma's small hand in his. "You did the right thing by staying safe," he said. "And you did the right thing by telling me. I'm going to help you, Emma. I promise." He stood up and pulled out his phone, his mind already working through what needed to happen next. This wasn't just a missing child case anymore. This was potentially fraud, exploitation of a minor, and who knew what else. Emma needed protection, medical attention, and a thorough investigation into the Thorntons and their handling of her guardianship. But first, she needed food and warmth, and someone to tell her that she was going to be okay. "How about we get you somewhere warm?" James said. "And some real food, not from a dumpster. While you eat, I'm going to make some phone calls to some people who can help make sure you're safe." Emma looked up at him with